Hey everyone, Ryan back with another video. So today's video, I'm really excited about it. I just received the new trigger from armorycraft. It is completely adjustable for pre-travel and over-travel. Very similar to the Keres trigger I've been running now for a couple months in my primary gun. I do have the internal components are stock trigger bar, and I'm running the other components in my gun are gray guns. And those are gonna stay. Throughout these tests, my internals will stay with the stock trigger bar, and the rest of the internals will be from gray guns. I feel those are superior components for a drop-in kit, which is what I'm running. So my tests today are going to be the full gray guns kit, and then my next test is going to be the Keres trigger with the gray guns internals, and then my final test will be the trigger from armorycraft with gray guns internals. I'm really excited about this because the Keres trigger is nice. However, the geometry is similar to a stock trigger, so it does have a stiffer trigger pull, I feel, than what is possible with the new trigger geometry that gray guns is running. It has a little better, a lighter trigger pull. So I wanted to get rid of some of the pre-travel. You can't get rid of all of it on a striker-fired gun, but there is a lot that can be improved with an adjustable trigger, so you can get rid of most of that. And my trigger discipline has improved using the Keres trigger, and I'm very happy with that. Just looking for a little lighter trigger pull, and we'll see how it goes, so stay tuned. First is going to be the Keres trigger, since this is the one I'm currently running in competition. So before I switch out any components, I'll run 10 pulls at different spots of the trigger shoe, and then we'll do an average. Here comes number 1. .48. Number 2. 4.81. Number 3. 4.19. Number 4, 3.25. Number 6, 3.82. Number 7, 3.38. Number 8, 4.87. Number 9, 3.47. And number 10. .42 for an average of 3 pounds, 10 ounces. All right, we'll go ahead and switch out and we'll do the gray gun setup next. All right, so I got my FCU put back together, and this is the full gray guns drop-in competition trigger setup. And we'll do 10 trigger pulls on this, and this should give us a little lighter trigger pull than the Keres, just with the improved geometry of the trigger itself. All right, here we go. Three, 4, 5. Number 2. 2.13. Number 3. 3.02. Number 4. 2.12. Number 5. 3.01. Number 6. 3.43. Number 7, 3.71. Number 8, 3.22. Number 9, 2.14. And number 10, 3.45. With an average pull of 3 pounds, 1.5 ounces. So again, what we're trying to do is get rid of this. Now, a lot of people have pre-travel and they're okay with it. Me personally, I have better trigger discipline when I don't have that much pre-travel. So it's a personal preference. This is a very nice trigger, very light trigger pull. I just want to get rid of the pre-travel as much as I can. It's a striker fired gun. You can't get rid of it all, but I just want to eliminate as much as I can. So at the end, I'll go over where I did some polishing on the FCU itself, and that can help improve your trigger pull weight as well. So we'll go ahead and get the Armory Craft trigger put in, and we'll go from there. All right, so we got the Armory Craft trigger installed with the grayguns internals and the stock trigger bar. So we're gonna go ahead and do 10 trigger pulls on the Lyman trigger gauge, and we'll see how we end up. Number 1. .90. Number 2. 3.31. Number 3. 3.73. Number 4. 2.14. Number 5. 2.12. Number 6. 2.14. Number 7. 3.41. Number 8. 3.10. Number 9. 2.14. Number 10. 3.16. For an average of 3.27 for the Armory Craft trigger. Alright, so I have this trigger FCU, the trigger bar out with the trigger out. I want to go over where I did some polishing. The internals, the kit I got from Grayguns, I didn't do any polishing on those components. Those came already very nice, and I didn't feel I could improve upon the work they already did. So on the side of the FCU where the trigger bar runs, which is right here, I don't know if you can see it very well in camera, I did some polishing in this area, and then also up in this area where the trigger bar contacts the FCU. So the trigger bar is going to sit in here just like about in that area. So I did some polishing on those areas, and then also the trigger bar itself, I polished on the inside of these areas right here where they contact the FCU. So that's all the polishing I did. I used a 2000 grit sandpaper to do my polishing, and that just took down some high spots and just made it really smooth. So Alma Cole's got some really good videos on how to install these parts. I'm not going to go through that. That's not what this video is for. So I'm going to get this FCU put back together, and then we'll move on for the trigger pull gauge. Alright, so the first trigger I'm going to show you is the Armory Craft I'm just trying to show you the overall trigger travel. I don't have a good way to measure it. I wish I did. Very little take up. It's about as much as you can have before the gun won't function. Very little trigger travel. Now this is the Keres. Again, very little take up. Almost nothing. Almost identical trigger travels for both of these. That's what I was looking for. All right, so that was a fun little test. The Keres came in at 3 pounds, 10.6 ounces, and that was the heaviest trigger pull I had. The next was the armorycraft. That came in at 3 pounds, 2.7 ounces. And no surprise to me, the grayguns was the lightest. That was the full complete grayguns drop-in competition trigger kit. That came in at 3 pounds, 1.5 ounces. So I wish grayguns had an adjustable trigger to take up that pre-travel, most of it. Unfortunately, they don't. So I'm going to go with the armorycraft. The geometry of that trigger was just what I was looking for. The fit, the way the trigger shoe fits into the gun, into the FCU, was really improved over the Keres and then the stock P320 trigger as well. So I'm a big fan of all three. I'm a big fan of all three triggers. It's personal preference. The grayguns and the armorycraft were very, very close. The adjustability of the armorycraft is why I'm going to go with that trigger for this season. And the Keres trigger is going to my backup gun just so I can have the same feel of the overall trigger travel. Those are almost identical of the overall trigger travel. It's just that the armorycraft with the geometry has a lighter trigger pull, and that's what I'm going to go with. So I hope this video helped, and it was a lot of work, and I did a lot of polishing, and I'm really happy with the way both my triggers are. They feel very similar, and if you have any questions, go ahead and send me an email. You can post to my comments, to my videos, and hope it helps. See you in the range.